Working Fans Podcast. Cool.
Yep.
All right, here we go. Coming down 3, 2.
Welcome back for another week of the Working Fans Podcast. This is AJ. I'm the former wrestler. We've got Dave, the ultimate fan, here with us. As we do every week, our producer Joe likes to make us sound good and makes us look way more professional than we actually are. As always, you can find us on Twitter, that's @FansWorking, Facebook, Working Fans Pod. We've got email where you can reach out to us and please contact us to let us know what you think of the podcast and for any ideas that you might have. That's workingfanswrestlingpod@gmail.com. We're on Instagram where you can keep up with us at workingfanswrestling_pod. And then you can now listen to us on all major platforms, including Anchor.fm. We're on Google Podcasts, Spotify, Breaker, Overcast, Pocket Casts, Radio Public, Apple Podcasts, and you can actually check us out on YouTube. Now, it's important when you go onto the Apple Podcasts and YouTube, hit that subscribe button, give us a rating, let us know what you think so you can help us out and we can continue to do what we love and bring you guys in as fans.
You can find negativity in anything, but, like, what's the point? What do you accomplish?
Yeah, wasted energy. All right, everybody, it's the Working Fans Podcast. It's Dave, the producer Joe, and we're here with El Chico Loco, Fast Eddie, Kid Ecstasy, Max Flipper number 8, Mello, is that right? No, Sal Rinauro, Salvatore Rinauro. You got a lot of names here. Hold on. Sal Del Rio and Sal the Pizza Boy, but most people know him as Sal Rinauro on NWA. Sal, how are you?
I don't say how's Sal or how's all those other characters. There's so many more.
Yeah,
all 20 of us are doing too.
He pulled that off a cage match database today, and I'm like, man, these are a lot of nicknames. I'm going to try to get them all in here.
Well, it's really funny because I get the Sal the Pizza Boy thing a lot. I swear to God, it was a one-time, one-off joke that I did that I don't know how that's the one that stuck with me. But I've gotten Sal the Pizza Boy more times than I was actually Sal the Pizza Boy.
Hey, that's just a sign it got over, I guess, right?
I totally did it. I was there live. I felt it. Nobody cared. Not a soul on the planet. It was, well, what it was, back in 1905, when men were men and wrestling was wrestling, Jimmy Ray was doing an angle with Tony Mamaluke at NWA Wildside. And Jimmy took a liking to me for whatever reason, and Mamaluke was, the super strong Italian heel where he hated being, he hated any kind of Italian stereotypes.
Right.
So the whole spot was Mamaluke's got Jimmy in a Fujiwara arm bar. I walk out with pizza. They chant, "Where's my pizza?" He gets upset. Jimmy rolls him up. Then Jimmy and I share a slice of pizza. That was it. It was a one and done. It was never. It didn't have legs. It couldn't crawl. It was just literally nobody ever intended for it to be anything more than I walk out one time with pizza and Jimmy and I enjoy a free slice.
Hopefully you got paid more than that night.
No, I was about to say, that dispelled a lot of those wild side rumors, because that night we got a hot dog, a handshake, and a slice of pizza. So that was
nice.
That was bonus.
Nice. Before I ask you about breaking in, I'm just curious, now that you're with NWA Power and everything, did you have any experience, whether it was watching studio wrestling before or any kind of studio wrestling?
Well, I'm a self-assessed wrestling nerd. Like, I'm just a super nerd, so, like, even I grew up in California, and we weren't really in NWA territory, but I would see the pictures in the aftermath. And, I was so just enamored with every facet of wrestling. So once I kind of found out the tape trading world and this whole world outside of Weekly, I was all in. So I can't tell you how many hours I've wasted watching, Manny Fernandez and Rick Rude cut promos on the set. And I've watched it all, so the first time I walked in at the first set of tapings at the Georgia Public Broadcasting Building, I felt I immediately felt like Bill and Ted when they showed up to get Abraham Lincoln. I felt like I was there, you know? I was like, it was surreal.
That's awesome, man. Great reference with Manny and Rick Rude, by the way, because I remember them in Rock and Roll Express myself.
100%.
We actually,
but yeah, I mean, so I watched it all. You know, I mean, I've studied it all and written about it, talked about it, dreamt about it. So like, it's a really more so in the last since I think the first takers were November, December. I've had many a moment where I've just stepped back, kind of pinched myself, like, oh my God, this is a real life thing. Like, this really happened.
Yeah, it's wild. You know, it's funny. Talk about like the studio and everything too. Just a quick side note. I think you'd get a kick out of this being a lifelong fan. But we had Ricky Morton on here maybe like a couple months ago, and I told him I grew up watching him, and I can't believe I saw him wrestle twice live, and it was in 2019.
Yeah, no, he's so you'll appreciate this. You know, just the Ricky Morton love. I couldn't have enough Ricky Morton love. But if you guys were watching the where he worked Nick Aldis a couple weeks ago.
Yep.
And then post-match, you know, some of the guys spilled out of the locker room to honor Ricky. I wasn't supposed to be a part of that.
Oh, no kidding.
Wow.
No. They were kind of back and forth. Originally it was going to be as many people as possible. And then they were kind of like, oh, we're just going to send a couple of the top, you know, like the top 5 baby faces. So like Storm and Drake and Murdoch. And I was like, okay. And so I just happened to be in Gorilla when they started going out. I was like, you know what? It's a lot easier to ask for forgiveness than permission. I'm going.
Damn right.
And I made sure Eddie Kingston was right in front of me, just in case somebody said something. I was like, look at this crazy guy. Eddie Kingston will punch us.
I got the feeling that Eddie's not too far off from that character.
No, that's Eddie. That's just Eddie. But yeah, so I just, you know, I said, let's take a break. There's not one single person said anything negative about it. You know, like, so I felt justified in doing it. You know, I mean, I would take any time to go on a Ricky Morton. He's just the best.
That's all. Hey, how did you break into the business? Who trained you, and how did that come about?
Well, so it's kind of a twofold deal, man. I'm the prototypical don't be this guy. I never had like a true training. So I started going to indie shows in California in '96. There was a place out at San Bernardino Boys and Girls Club. It was 3 blocks from my house called the Inland Empire Wrestling. I had only known TV wrestling and wrestling I read in the magazine. So like this is where I kind of found like this whole world of like guys trying to make it. And one of the guys there was Louis Spicoli. Who was in between shots as Rad Radford and DCW brought.
Yeah.
And so I kind of showed up like way early. Like bell time was 7. I was there at 11. Just way I was so enamored with the business. I'm 13 years old at the time.
Oh wow!
And I was like, I would do anything. I would be more than happy to help you guys do anything. Like whatever. So I'd set up chairs. Help set up the ring, take tickets, pop popcorn, whatever was asked me, I did it. And once the ring was up, I was kind of allowed to get in the ring and roll around, and became buddies with a couple of the guys. And it got to the point where they wanted to try stuff out. And they were like, well, just bump the kid.
Wow.
He's 13. He doesn't have feelings in his body yet, Instead of beating each other up. So that's how I learned how to bump, was so I could take moves from guys. Fast forward to 98 and moved out to Georgia because at the time I was 15 and I was kind of on my own. I was in between places. And my grandma got sick and my aunt was moving out here. And I was like, well, WCW title plants in Georgia. I'm going to go to Georgia. So that was my grand scheme. I'm going to be a cruiserweight. I'm going to be the cruiserweight champion, and me and Juventud are going to be taking the town. And so I came out to Georgia, and maybe within a month, there was an indie show running at a baseball field around it by my house. So I went and checked it out, and that is where I saw Jason Cross. And I don't know if you guys remember Jason Cross from TNA, but I mean, like I said, this is 98, 99, and this guy's doing shooting star leg drops and front flip on prettiers in front of 40 people in a baseball field, and I'm losing my mind.
Yeah, I want to say he was on the early pay-per-views, right? Where they were doing the $10 a week pay-per-views.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I buddied up with him because, like I said, I just saw a man do a shooting star leg drop. Like, yeah, you're going to be my best friend forever. So I kind of buddied up with him, and he was like, well, you know, he was looking for a guy that could take his moves on show. I said, hey, baby, I'll be more than happy. Yes, please. So that's kind of how I broke in. Him, and he had a buddy named John Phoenix. And those are the two guys that kind of, they had a little training facility. And most of the time, like, it was just me, the two of them, and a couple other guys. And we would go out there and just bump around. And he got me booked on shows because I knew how to take his moves. And that's how I got my foot in the door at Wildside. And then from there, you know, it was a lot of learning on the job versus, like, they always used to make fun of me because, like, I got my psychology from television wrestling. And not that that's a bad thing, but, like, that's where I watched wrestling. It was within a month that I had kind of surpassed Jason Cross on the, why don't you do this here instead of here?
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Like, they were like, oh, yeah, you're a savant. And I was like, I wouldn't go that far.
I've watched a lot of this, right?
I've spent a lot of time watching this. But yeah, and then, you know, and from Wildside, you know, I sat under every learning tree I could. So, I mean, like, it was such a weird time in the business, too, because I started at Wildside right as they still had the WCW developmental deal. I started this. So, like, my first night there was February of 01. So the first PV I was there, it was Jindrak and Palumbo. No, Jindrak and Stasiak versus Palumbo and O'Hare they were doing their matches they were doing on the pay-per-view for Super Bowl the next night. This was their, like, let's go through it, see if we got it, Matt.
Wow,
they flew out of Atlanta to be at the pay-per-view the next day. And that was my first night at Wildside. So there was so much talent there. You know, this is AJ Styles was still there at the time, and Abyss was there at the time.
Jeez.
And, you know, plus the WCW talent, like Terry Taylor was there, agenting, and all the WCW Power Plant guys. You know, I got to pick and choose from a bazillion different lines. And I'm real fortunate for that. To this day, I still, you know, like, it taught me that you can never stop learning. So, like, even at the NWA tapings today, I still, like, I try to drink stuff in. Like, when I get stumped, I'll go, you know, like, there's Ricky Morton. He's done everything. There's Robert Gibson. I'm pretty sure he can figure his way out of this tag spot. Let's go talk to them, you know, or whatever. That's how the world got stuck with me.
That's awesome, man. Now, we talked about this before we called a little bit, but you were recommended by Logan Creed of MLW. What's your guys' relationship?
Logan, I had taken a couple of years off. Right around 2010, my second son was born. My first son, I wasn't around for like his first 2 years. So when the second kid was born, I was like, all right, I kind of need to be a better dad. So I stopped taking and seeing bookies, and everything was more close to home. And I was feeling burnout anyway, because I'd been going pretty hard for 10 years. So I kind of got out of the business for a little bit, and then I got a job with TNA doing merchandise. It kind of checked all the boxes for me, where I wasn't on air, but I was on the road every weekend, and I was making money full-time through wrestling. But I also wasn't as grueling as, you know, 10 days tours of Japan or whatever. You know, I was usually home 3 or 4 days a week. And that was my whole wrestling. Like, and before shows, I would get in the ring and roll around a little bit, but no matches. Well, when they let AJ go, I kind of saw the writing on the wall. I kind of had a little foresight, said, things are not going to, like, I don't see us traveling much more. I'm going to leave. So I put in my notice, and I was kind of done with wrestling at that point. You know, it wasn't even a bitter thing. It was, I'm 5'7", 180 pounds. I've done everything I can do. Like, wrestled in every major ring I could think of. I've traveled the globe. Like, I'm happy. I don't want to be that bitter guy. I was home for maybe 2 months, and I had a buddy who runs a show maybe 30 minutes from me, and he calls me up and says, hey, come do this show. I was like, man, I'm good, man. I'm happy. Come on, come do this one shot for me. No, I'm good. No, I got a guy I want you to work with. You know, what's it going to take? I said, okay, here's my out. I'll give him a stupid number. He can say no to it, we can both walk away with our heads held high. So I shot him the stupid number. He goes, oh, yeah, that's great. See you on the 20th.
Wow.
I'm like, oh, no. So my then wife, I told her, like, hey, here's the deal. Like, I got suckered into one spot, but here's the money, and it's 30 minutes down the road. And she goes, oh, well, you need new gear. And I go, oh, wait, that's not how this goes. She's like, come on, you can brother a couple of people you know, get some free gear. I was like, all right, let me make some calls. So I made a couple calls and called Rick Michaels, who I've known forever, and I go, hey, man, I need you just to brother me a set of gear. something easy, you know, basic design. You know, I kind of walked him through what I was thinking. You know, nothing gaudy. I was like, it's a one-off. I just, you know, it's going to be the first time the kid sees me, blah, 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 blah. He goes, oh, yeah, I'll take care of you. And I go, well, how much you want? And he goes, oh, don't worry about the price. I was like, awesome. And he goes, yeah, just come do a shot for me on the 21st. I'm like, oh, no. And that first show I did for my buddy, long story short, the first show I did for my buddy, Logan was on the show. Oh. And he was one of the few guys that recognized, you know, what little name value I had. He kind of buddied with me, and we've been buddies ever since.
That's awesome, man. I was joking with him that he reminds me of Luke Gallows when we had him on too.
Absolutely, no. They are of the same ilk.
Now, one thing I wanted to pull aside a little bit here. We did this with Logan. It's kind of a new thing we're doing, and we might do this in a later show too. But we're trying to branch out, start something new. So we're just kind of challenging people out of their comfort zone a little bit here. We want to see like what else guys are interested in. So besides wrestling, do you have any other hobbies you like, favorite movies, or other things that really spark your interest?
The easy answer is no, but it's not true. But I mean, I'm such a like I said, I'm a wrestling nerd. So,
yeah, I was thinking that when you said that earlier.
yeah, and it's worn off on my son too. But so I collected wrestling figures as a kid, and it's worn off on him. So we go on a lot of the figure hunts together, which is fun. But like my favorite movies, easy. I've played Desert Island a million times. If you give me Anchorman and Ninja Turtles 2, I'll be good. Very simple, man. I'm talking Secret of the News, not Out of Shadow.
I thought you were going to say Wrestling Road Diaries. That's why I was
No, actually, never seen it.
Oh, yeah?
Seen the movie. Yeah, I lived it, but I mean, I've never sat down and watched the edited version. I think I have a copy of it somewhere in my house. I'm not sure where. Cabana gave me a copy, and this was right around the time I started with TNA, and I kind of had the idea of, so let me get like 100 of these things and try to sell them. But I knew TNA wasn't going to clear it. I was like, I'm good. So I got the one copy, and I just never got around to watching it. I've heard good things.
That's funny.
Now, I actually did watch it, Sal, and I had a question for you because when I was researching you, I noticed that the Wrestling Road Diaries, it was taped roughly 11 years into your career. And we're roughly 11 years from when it was taped. So what kind of lessons did you learn in the first 11 years versus the second 11 years?
That's a great question. I think I was fortunate enough to learn, and some of it the hard way, but in my first 11 years that, it's okay to accept change.
It's the hardest thing in life to accept sometimes.
Right.
Absolutely, but just if you look at what wrestling was in 2009 versus what wrestling is today, I mean, it's night and day, but that doesn't mean it's bad. It just means it's different.
Absolutely.
A lot of the young guys, and it's crazy to me to even have to use that phrase still, but a lot of the young guys that I talk to that are just breaking in, kind of expect me to be, these kids with their flips and their high spots and I love them.
Yeah.
I love a good story too, don't get me wrong, but I like it all. I'm a fan of pro wrestling, as a kid, I liked, my dude was the king of the African dream. Spoiler alert, I knew he was an African.
Right.
The secret leaked. I don't know how it got back to me. But that didn't make it any less fun for me.
Right.
I'm a big believer if you know what you're getting into, everything's allowed. So there's not one set of rules in pro wrestling. And I definitely think I was fortunate enough to learn that in my first 11 years. and then actually watch the evolution of the business in the second half of it, where I see, oh no, I was right.
You know what's funny? I was just talking to someone today, just like I own a bread business. I deliver bread, and I was talking to a younger person today at one of the stores, and I just talking about like the difference like in life. Like things are just going to keep changing. Like now we have more social media that we didn't have, and there's good and bad that comes with that. It doesn't mean everything's all bad. Like sure, there's a lot of negativity, but you're also easy to promote and find people, and there's just depends how you use things. I think a lot of times.
Oh yeah. No, and it's funny because like I'm a pretty positive dude just in general. So you can find negativity in anything, but like what's the point? What are you accomplishing?
Yeah, wasted energy.
Yeah, like I don't have time for that. Like let's find the fun in it, you know? So like social media well here's a great example. I was talking to my 9-year-old today, or not today, last night, and he was on my phone talking to one of his buddies. And I could hear him, and I go, all right, man, it's time for you to go. You need to hang up. And he goes, hang up what? And I was like, oh, my God. You literally don't have to hang up the phone anymore.
Right.
You hit the end button. And so I was like, well, you know, when I was a kid, you literally had to put the phone up on something.
Right.
Like, we hung up the phone. Like, this is fucking non-existent phrase anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's crazy to think that younger people wouldn't even get the reference to what it means. They hear it.
Yeah.
I had a question now that you mentioned that you're a parent. Like, being a parent who's a wrestler, are your kids into wrestling?
My eldest hates it. And I think, like, he's 14, but I think he's got a deep-rooted, I wouldn't say hate, he doesn't care. And I think a lot of his not liking wrestling has to do with, well, that's what Daddy went to go do when I was younger. So I didn't have Daddy time. But my youngest son, it's scary how much he is me. Like, I see so much of me in him where, like I said, like, we collect the toys together, but I mean, he's on the ball, man. Like, he smartens me up to things I don't know. Like he's the one, like, I got home one day, whenever it was, I walked in the house one day, and I was like, hey, what's up, man? He was like, worst day. I go, why is that? He goes, they released Luke Harper. I'm like, what? No! Player! They're like, what was that thing? They got the wrong one.
Are there any things in wrestling that they're into that you just look at and you go, that's not for me?
Well, I have taken one thing I really love, and it's such a great bonding thing, at least on my end, is because I've got, 20 years under my belt, I can't tell you a time I wasn't watching wrestling, so I'm kind of hardened, and I can get over things real quick. I love to watch wrestling with Jacob, because I love to watch it through his eyes. Like, I know what I like and I know what I don't like. I don't like to give my opinions to him. I like him to give me his opinions to see what he gets into and what he doesn't get into. For example, like Humberto Carrillo. He is a beautiful man. Does nothing for me. He's just not my guy. I couldn't care less. I just, it's not a knock on his work. It's not a knock on anything other than I don't care. So I have that feeling. But like when he comes out, I don't like openly groan because I want to see what his reaction is. Because then I can test to see if the guy is getting over or not. A couple of weeks ago, I guess when he returned, and Jacob was just like, "Oh yeah, I forgot about this guy." Oh, and I was like, "All right, you get it." I agree. We're friends.
You know what's funny? I was listening to Chael Sonnen, you might know, who does MMA, and he's been in pro wrestling.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah, he was saying that, like, him and Randy Couture would go wrestle with the high school kids sometimes because they would see what they were working on and what was new coming up. And it kind of reminds me of this, like with your son, like you're watching, you can see, okay, what does he like now and what's kind of new? And I think it's a way to keep us young sometimes to have like younger people around us, you know?
You get to see it with
Yeah.
No, and it's like this thing is it's always funny taking him to live events too, because like just his reactions to things. So like we went to one a few years ago and it was King and Braun Strowman. And like I love my kid more for anything other than like he stands by his beliefs. So like Braun Strowman was full boogie babyface at this point. Like, there was no question. Like, Braun Strowman was as babyface as to get. He's flipping over fire trucks and, you know, juggling Miatas. But my son will remember. You know, he was like, "No, man, I ain't about this dude. No, man, he's not a good guy. I remember." so like, he's the only guy in the crowd booing Braun Strowman. But it's not because he didn't appreciate his work or, no, he's like, "No, dude, you remember the Wyatt family, and I'll never let that go." Like, or just like with Cesaro. So, like, I've known Claudio. Like, I when Claudio first got into Ring of Honor, it was right around the same time I did. And so he didn't know a lot of people. But if you've ever talked to Claudio at length, like, he loves Gasto. Just loves him. And that's something I have in common with him. Because the punnier and the cornier the joke is, the better it is to me. I just love him. Like, the one thing I used to, you know, like, the one joke I always had for him was, "What's orange and sounds like a parrot?" A parrot. But
you popped us.
When Jacob, yeah. So when Jacob got into it, Cesaro was heel. And, I mean, I'm talking, so he's a heel, he's, you know, he's We the People with Jack Swagger. He wouldn't let it go. He would not let it go. Until it was like a year after he had finally turned babyface. He did 8-Man with the New Day on Raw. And I helped break in Xavier Wood. He's, you know, personal friend. Kids call him Uncle Austin. Like, he's, you know, and once Cesaro teamed with Xavier Wood, he looks over at me and he goes, "You know what? He might be okay."
That's awesome.
It's always interesting to see what changes a kid's mind or what they see in wrestling, because they're seeing it for the first time. We've been hardened to it over the years.
Oh, absolutely. And, like, I can't say, like, I'm so there's some guys that, like, I'm just infatuated with that I can't help. That, like, so, like, before Buddy Murphy, because, like, he watches 205 Live with me. So, I mean, like, this is literally, like, 2 of the 4 viewers that show had. And so, like, you know, like, when Buddy Murphy was doing his thing on 205 Live, I was like, this is my dude. I love Buddy Murphy. So, like, Buddy Murphy is super duper over in the Rinauro household. Way before he was a baby face, way before he was on Raw, way before he even had a character. I was like, man, this dude's the good. Like, that was the big Christmas present he got this year. He got the 2 Buddy Murphy figures. And he was like, man, Santa for real loves me. Oh, yeah.
Nice.
So, yeah, like, I'm not... I try to only put the positivity out there for us. Like, if there's someone I don't watch, I don't try to influence him negatively. Like, you know, when Pete Dunne comes out, I can't help but go, yeah, that Pete Dunne fella, he's a heck of a pro wrestler. I like him a lot.
Well, hey, you know, we had you on for a little over half hour now. I'll just ask you a couple more questions here. What are some of your goals still, now that you're still in the business? You know, anything else you want to promote after that?
It's crazy because, like, I've met goals. I heard this real inspirational story, and I can't remember the guy's name, but there was a guy that was in a bomber, in a airplane. He was a fighter. He was over in Iraq. Plane got shot down. Everybody in it died but him. But he was destroyed. I mean, both his legs were mangled. And he was saying that, so he was just left to no devices on this beach. And so what he would do is he had a stick, and he would take a stick and draw a line in the sand and say, all right, if I can just crawl to that spot, I can take a rest. And he would do it over and over and over and over until he crawled to some town miles away. That's kind of the way I look at my goals in pro wrestling now. Where, like, I'm not going to get signed for it. It's just not going to happen, especially since I broke my arm. But, like, if I can just make enough headway to be mentioned, like, that's enough for me. Like, I'm very happy with, like I said before, like, I kind of stepped away in 2013 because I was good. Like, I'm fortunate enough to have the perspective to realize that, like, even if I don't get that WrestleMania pre-show Battle Royal spot, I've had a good run, you know? Like, I'm very happy with what I've been able to accomplish. But as far as goals, like especially now, like with NWA taking off the way it has, especially for me, like that TV title I think would look just wonderful at my house. I got a little spot for it that would just look super duper cool.
There you go. I like that.
Yeah, I definitely love to get in the TV title mix. I finally, at the last set of taping, I got to do an on-set promo. And that was like I said, when I walked into the building and saw the stage and the desk and everything, that was immediately like, I got to do a promo on set. Like, that was my thing. And I finally got to do it at the last set of taping. And that was super cool. I'd like to at least get one more of those. I did it with May, and we had a great time. But I'd love to get involved in an angle where I get to do a by myself on set promo. That'd be super cool. There's a ton of guys there that I'd still love to mix it up with. I've known Caleb Conley since his second match, and I don't think he and I have ever done a singles. So I would love to get a singles match with Caleb Conley. They just brought Matt Cross in, who I've done stuff with in the past, but, I'd love to get in there with him. Ricky Stark, Vicky Dice. I mean, there's a lot of guys, and then obviously, Nick Aldis. Just with the prestige of what the NWA title is and all the hard work that they've done in making that title have some kind of significance again, I'd love to get at least one shot at the NWA World title. Just, that's one of those things that, like, 20 years from now, I can tell my kids I did it. Whether I won or lose or whatever. Like, oh, yeah, I had a shot at the NWA World title. I think that'd be a cool thing. Like I said, I know those aren't all going to happen tomorrow, but we'll see. I've been fortunate, man. That Power crowd, for whatever reason, loves them some Sal Rinauro.
There you go, man.
Yes, they do. Now, one last question before we have you promote anything. What's been your key to longevity in the business?
I told this advice. I've told it to 100 people, but my whole thing has always been, you need to love pro wrestling because it doesn't love you. Like, pro wrestling doesn't owe any one person anything. It's going to survive. Pro wrestling will always survive. It's such a good form of entertainment that there will always be some form of pro wrestling. It's not self-reliant on one. It's not reliant on one person. It's a very self-reliant entity. My whole thing is, like, just love it. Find the fun in it, man. Like, if you can't find fun in pro wrestling, I just don't understand what you're doing. That was my thing when I took a step back. It wasn't fun for me because I was beating myself over the head trying to figure out what I was going to do and how I was going to do it. And now I'm so fortunate that, like, I'm having more fun at 37 than I did at 17. And it's because I love pro wrestling. I love it. I love all of it. I love the art of it. I love the behind the scenes. I love the front of the scenes. I just love every aspect of pro wrestling. And I mean, that's really the key is, just love it. Have fun with it. Make it your own. Make it, like, I truly believe, like, this is the greatest form of art in the world. And, like, I'm fortunate enough, like, as a kid, I used to draw constant. I would draw the caricatures of wrestlers and Ninja Turtles, basically. And, like, a couple of my friends liked it, but I knew I was never going to be an artist. But, like, this is truly a way of being able to express art, and it's such a cool thing, man. And I'm also big on, like, if you get it, you get it. If you don't, that's okay. Like, I've got tons of friends that don't like pro wrestling, and that's okay. You don't have to like it, but I mean, I know I love it, and like I said, I've watched it evolve from 1982 to today, and I love it more today than I did as a kid. It's
Preaching to the choir, man. Everything you just said, like, I talk to people that are negative about things all the time, and I just say, well, don't watch that. And, like, you don't have to, like, love every wrestling show, but if you love wrestling, you're going to find some wrestling show you love, or you're going to find something on it you love if you really love wrestling.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, I got that, I broke my arm in January, so I'm out of commission right now. So, like, I'm trying to relearn how to just be at home which is harder than any match I've ever had. Like, so I got the pay-per-view. I got the pay-per-view Saturday, and I invited a couple friends over. And one guy was like, "Why would you watch that? You know, like you don't even work there." I was like, "Who cares?" But I have friends that do work there. I love pro wrestling, and like I promise you, it's going to be good. There's going to be something you're going to enjoy. You know, like
Yeah.
If the Young Bucks and Kenny and Adam Page aren't your cup of tea, you know, maybe Cody and MJF, maybe maybe Orange Cassidy's your thing. I know he's my thing.
Yeah, that was something completely different for me, and I loved it. Like, I don't know about you, but the rolling over spot where he just looks like he's legit cracking up at one point, I lost it. I thought this is great.
So good. And I mean, this thing is, and it's because, like, I'm a huge Neville guy, or Pac. Love Pac. So on paper, that's such a weird matchup.
Right.
But you know, there's the old fight adage that matchups make styles make matchups. You know, and like this was, I loved it. Like that was genuinely like, this is no disrespect to anybody else on the card because it was a solid show, top to bottom. It was really good. But Pac and Orange Cassidy was the one I was like, yeah, I'm glad I watched this one.
Just saying.
It was super enjoyable.
I was excited for that match because I'm looking forward to Orange Cassidy versus Suzuki at Spring Break. And this was almost a preview of that joking style versus this dude that could break him in pieces.
It was so much fun. So much fun.
So, Sal, is there anything you want to promote before we let you go?
It's Tuesday, 6:05, YouTube, NWA Power. And again, just talking about styles, man. They have done such a good job. Like I can't say enough good things about finding. The NWA's found their niche. You know, they're not trying to be McDonald's in a fast food world. You know, they're more like an in and out where like it's not necessarily for everybody. It's not everywhere, but if you like it, you like it. So come watch it. Definitely check out NWA Power 6:05 Eastern on YouTube. You can follow me at Sal Rinauro on Twitter. I'm very new to it. I still haven't really figured out all the mechanics of the Twitter world. That was my holdout. My buddies finally beat me to death and told me I had to get on Twitter. So I've done it. I don't know if I've done it successfully, but I'm there. I'm on Instagram at Sal Rinauro. No, I think it's Sal_Rinauro. And you can check out my Facebook at Sal Rinauro, RINAURO. I would be backstage extreme. I mean, how many vowels do I got?
Right. Well, all right, Sal, this was a pleasure. Thank you so much. You're a great talker, a great interview. We love your passion, and maybe we'll have you on again, man. Thank you so much for everything.
All right, sounds great. Yes, bro. Thank you, guys. Find the fun in it, man. Like, if you can't find fun in pro wrestling, I just don't understand what you're doing.
All right, so that wraps us up for this week. Thank you again for listening to the Working Fans Podcast. So as always, you can find us on Twitter at FansWorking. Our Facebook page is Working Fans Wrestling Pod. We have email where you can reach out to us and let us know what you think also. That's workingfanswrestlingpod@gmail.com. Follow us on Instagram, workingfanswrestling_pod. And then as always, please continue to listen to us on Anchor.fm, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Breaker, Overcast, Pocket Cast, Radio Public, all your major platforms. If you're following us on Apple Podcasts, which we are also on now, and YouTube, please make sure you subscribe and give us a 5-star rating. It helps us bring you these podcasts where we get to talk to you and talk with you every week.